As we continue our conversation on EPR, we now shift to an equally important dimension of the system: social inclusion and purpose-driven enterprise. Because a circular economy is not only about materials, it's also about people. Our next speaker represents an organization that has long demonstrated how environmental stewardship and community empowerment can go hand in hand. She is Ms. Anna Meloto-Wilk, co-founder of Human Nature Philippines. Guided by a pro-Philippines, pro-poor, and pro-environment philosophy, Anna has built a brand that creates natural products from locally sourced ingredients while supporting fair trade, sustainable practices, and dignified livelihoods for communities. Her work shows that business can go beyond profit, creating impact across both people and the planet. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Anna Meloto-Wilk.
Thank you, Karen. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Thank you to SM for hosting this event today, sa PARMS din, sa pag-organize, and kay Ms. Delia Valdez for giving small and medium enterprises a platform as well to share our own experience with the EPR law. So it was so encouraging to really see the progress and the best practices from the bigger enterprises, many of whom have been in the country for over 100 years. We're the new kid on the block. Human Nature has only been around for 18 years. We were one of the first in the natural personal care space back in 2008. And, with God's blessings, we've been able to continue even through the pandemic. So this was really quite a journey for us. So siguro for this morning, I just wanted to share the perspective from, the local companies, the ones who are not perhaps as large as the other companies like Nestle and Unilever and Coca-Cola, but really doing our part and trying to also be sustainable in the way we conduct business. Yeah, just to share our journey, we started really thinking about reducing our plastic usage in 2017. But even before that, so as I said, we started in 2008. We really purposely used the most recyclable types of packaging, which is PET at that time, even though it was more expensive for our locally produced natural products. One of the strategies that we really looked out for was mapping out, for example, substitution strategies. So we looked into bioplastics. We looked at reducing also the weight of the plastics that we were using. And all of this, we came to the conclusion that, they all have different advantages and disadvantages. So in 2018 and 2019, we zeroed in on upsizing and refilling because we realized that just upsizing our products could reduce the amount or the weight of plastic by as much as 72%. So we were one of the first to really focus on 1 liter bottles and encouraging our customers to buy in bigger sizes rather in smaller sizes. And then together with other companies as well, we focused on refilling in 2018 all the way to 2019. We worked with FDA and also Unilever in really coming up with a framework to mainstream refilling in the Philippines. And we opened up our first permanent home care refilling station in our stores around this time. So during the pandemic, as everyone knows, it was a very challenging time, but that didn't stop us from innovating. And one of our main strategies was to go plastic-free through waterless formulation. So basically, we took out the water in our formulation so that we could wrap them in biodegradable packaging. So we launched shampoo bars, face bars, feminine wash bars, and dishwashing products as an alternative to plastic packaged consumer goods. 2023, we were one of the obliged enterprises. It was a bit of a surprise. We didn't think we qualified, but in the end, when we computed, we're like, kasali pakla kami. So it was a bit of a steep learning curve in understanding the law and determining our own plastic footprint. Apart from taking charge of EPR, I also handle R&D and marketing and regulatory and all of those things. So it was a bit of a challenge for me having to wear all of those multiple hats. In 2024, we went full blast with our Balik Bote. We've been doing the bottle return program for a long time already, but we went really full blast in 2024. And we partnered with diverters to accept the plastic that we collect from our customers. And then 2025 up to present, we're still advocating actually for upstream strategies, because something that we realized is that it's only the downstream initiatives that were being credited, even though we've been really pushing for upstream initiatives even before the EPR lapsed into law. So we've submitted our upstream plastic reduction strategies together with the credit frameworks to DENR, and I'm so glad that Ms. Delia Valdez has informed us that we will have an opportunity to present to the DNR, and hopefully we can implement the upstream crediting strategies very soon. Just to share with you, very, very enthusiastic response from our employees when we launched this, because everybody wants to really help the planet. And we empowered all of our employees and our customers. We made it, we gamified it basically. Whoever collects the most plastic would have incentives. So even without the gamification, they were so excited, and it became a morale booster also, and a culture building activity for most of us. That's one of our brand managers. She was collecting plastic like Santa Claus, and really, really excited to be able to do their part. However, we've had some challenges, maybe because, we're a much smaller company. So, for example, there was a lot of confusion in the beginning on what is considered creditable and non-creditable. In fact, we got to the point where we submitted already our audit report, only to realize that after everything that we'd done, it wasn't credited pala. But, I think it is part of the learning curve and the growing pains of the program. 2 years, 3 years down the road, now we're getting the hang of it. Next is initially met with a lot of enthusiasm from our stakeholders, but we had to temporarily pause our Balikbote drive due to changing business models of some of our partners, our diverters. So that was a bit of a challenge as well. Next is we discovered during audit that, as I mentioned, upstream initiatives were not yet creditable, so we had to resort to buying plastic credits. Next, some of the challenges. We continue to struggle. Actually, I was very enthused to see SM's program, and it gave me a lot of ideas of where to go next. And I met some of the other companies here that we can partner with, because our experience as a medium-sized enterprise was that we were struggling to find diverters who will accept all types of plastic. So we need to partner with multiple companies to meet our compliance requirements, whether for rigids and flexibles, HDPE, PET, LDPE, all of these things. So, and a lot of the conditions from diverters for acceptance of types of plastic, cleaning, separating labels, and sorting, to name a few, is a bit of a challenge for, smaller companies such as us. And then, of course, the rising cost of plastic recovery and diversion strategies. I guess my perspective is really from our own experience. So I'm so happy to be here to also learn from everyone and to connect with people to help us puzzle through these challenges. We have some stakeholders who are against certain types of diversion or recovery. In fact, we were into co-processing diversion before, but then we got certain feedback from some of our stakeholders that they also had some concerns about it. Those things we had to also substitute. And then from DNR, we would really appreciate if we could get a list of accredited diverters so that it's easier for us to really find ways or have some sort of directory for where we can find our partners for diversion. So another insight is that the EPR, as I mentioned, credits plastic recovery and doesn't yet recognize upstream reduction. So I'm hoping that this year we'll be able to really get that done, right? So that we can also be able to credit a lot of the programs that we do to reduce in the upstream part of the value chain. So some of our upstream initiatives, as I mentioned, we were one of the first to adopt refilling. This was back in 2018. And then we did upsizing of bottles. This is one of the most significant reduction strategies. And then conversion to waterless formulations. I'll just go very quickly. I think this is going to be part of our DNR proposal, ma'am. Pero it's just sample, very straightforward computations on how we can have plastic credits from these initiatives. So for example, one 20-kilo capacity carboy is equal to 80 pieces of 50 ml bottle saved. So hopefully those kinds of computations will be acceptable. For example, you just look at also the equivalent of our 1 liter bottles and how much plastic do the equivalent smaller bottles weigh, and then credit it based on those computations. And then finally, for our waterless formulations, this completely eliminates the plastic, so hopefully higher credit for this as well. So these simple math, hopefully these things will be acceptable to DNR. Next steps, so we're waiting on FDA for the IRR on the refilling stations for cosmetics and home care. We met with them in November, so hopefully that's going to be out very soon, according to their policy and legal department. Next is the accreditation of upstream reduction strategies for EPR compliance, hopefully within the first semester of 2026 as well. And then last, and I'm so glad also to know that there are more infrastructure that is happening, but accessible recycling facilities and industrial composting plants for biodegradable packaging. Because the lack of industrial composting is also what prevented us from exploring bioplastics, since there's really no end of life for them as well. And then finally, just from our perspective, if we are able to have all of these recommendations in place, we can really focus on the intentional design of packaging so that we reduce it at the source, so we can focus on what we do best instead of really opening up new business lines for the plastic recovery. And of course, it's a partnership between the government and the OEs and also the diverters to be able to provide, and DOF, thank you DOF for being here. We're excited to know what kind of incentives we'll be able to get for all of those companies who have really been doing their part and intentionally ensuring that they run their business in a way that will make our country more sustainable for the next generation. So, maraming salamat po.